Welcome to the Global Business Travel Association's official podcast, The Business of Travel. I'm Shane Downey, GBTA's Vice President of Government Relations. Today, we are discussing the U.S. rental car market's recovery and outlook. Additionally, we will examine the legislative topics for the 118th Congress. To help me with all this is Gordon Reel, Vice President for Government and Public Affairs for Enterprise Holdings. Gordon leads the company efforts on several federal legislative initiatives, as well as assists in managing Enterprise's Political Action Committee. He currently serves as a board member of the American Car Rental Association, ACRA, the rental car industry group. Gordon, thank you for joining us today. I hope you've had a wonderful start to the year.
Yes, Shane, thanks for having me this morning, and Happy New Year to you
Yes.
and all the GBTA members out there.
Great. Well, let's jump into it, okay? So, look, we had sort of some interesting times here, and as we look at it, how do you see the status and overall health of the rental car industry? Are things beginning to normalize in the wake of the pandemic?
In a word, Shane, yes. In addition to a very busy holiday season, this past summer brought the strongest travel season since the beginning of the pandemic, due to pent-up demand and the easing of pandemic restrictions. Industry-wide, travel bookings were up 130% in spring of 2022, contributing nearly $2 trillion to the U.S. economy. Destinations such as Florida, Hawaii, California, New York, and Nevada continue to be some of the most popular U.S. destinations for travelers, according to our branch data. A key, though, for Enterprise is our diversification. Most people know us as the car rental company that owns Enterprise Rent-A-Car, National Car Rental, and Alamo Rent-A-Car. We have rental locations within 15 miles of 90% of the U.S. population. But over the last decade, we've become an increasingly diverse company that includes 9 other mobility lines. If you are part of a local business or government agency, you might drive a car that's part of a corporate fleet managed by Enterprise Fleet Management. Or you might get to work using a van pool operated by Commute with Enterprise, or share a car through our hourly car rental service, Enterprise Car Club. Or you might see a truck with Enterprise Truck Rental delivering a package to your doorstep. Maintaining strict discipline to our business strategy, which includes investing in and diversifying our lines of business, has positioned us well for long-term future growth. And our goal is quite simple. We want to make travel easier and more convenient for our customers. In addition to our daily rental business, Enterprise has also invested heavily in a growing array of mobility solutions through Enterprise's branded business lines, including Enterprise Car Share and Car Club, Enterprise Fleet Management, Enterprise Car Sales, Enterprise Truck Rental, and Enterprise Flexi Rent, Exotic Car Collection by Enterprise, and Commute with Enterprise. In addition to a strong performance from the daily rental business globally, these diverse business lines performed very well in fiscal year 2022.
It's interesting. So, here it's January in Washington, D.C., and while we were spared for the most part, there's certainly a lot of large parts of the country that weren't. What effect did the recent holiday travel issues have on car rental and specifically Enterprise?
Sure, no, great question. We know the recent weather events and flight disruptions resulted in a very challenging and stressful travel situation for many individuals and families. Our teams at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, National Car Rental, and Alamo worked hard and did everything we could to assist customers who had their travel plans disrupted. Throughout the disruption, we saw a significant increase in requests for rentals across the country at both our airport and neighborhood locations, including a large jump in one-way rental requests. And it's emergency situations like this, like a disruption or a significant weather event, when thousands of vehicles could be damaged or thousands of people need a vehicle. Enterprise Holdings is prepared to respond and move vehicles from our network of locations into affected areas as quickly as possible. When significant events or natural disasters impact cities and neighborhoods, supporting local recovery efforts is a top priority for Enterprise Holdings. We collaborate with catastrophe teams prior to their arrival in affected areas to assess damage and begin cleanup. These teams include insurance catastrophe teams and energy power companies, as well as Federal Emergency Management, FEMA, General Services Administration, GSA, and the National Guard, as well as state emergency response officials in Florida and other states.
It's certainly been a pretty rapidly changing weather situations that we've seen throughout the years, and it's fantastic that you're doing all that. But as we look and think specifically about business travel, what is Enterprise seeing there?
Well, and I'm sure your members know this as well, but business travel is changing and it's not going away. More than half of Enterprise's business comes from working directly with companies. Many of the business travel trends are being driven by what's being called the bleisure travel trend, the ability to work remotely so employees can extend their trips and take time to enjoy their destination. So they're blending business with leisure, hence the term bleisure. We are encouraged that we continue to see more business travelers continue to choose car rental as one of the first modes of ground transportation to get them back on the road. And Shane, just a few other trends we're seeing are business travelers expect to drive more and fly less. While some meetings can take place virtually, the ability to brainstorm with staff, service customers, or meet and greet industry colleagues is a lot more difficult to replace with technology. Business travelers continue to choose car rental as one of the first modes of ground transportation to get them back on the road.
That's fantastic to hear. And I think, as we were also saying, you're seeing the continued need to travel and meet with clients and your teams to help build the culture and have the results that you want to. And so I think we're seeing the same items you're seeing as well. But let's now pivot to the legislative and political space where you and I kind of live. It's a new year. It's a new Congress in Washington, D.C. Most of the state legislators will be active again soon, if not already. What is Enterprise and the rental car industry going to be focused on in this year?
Sure. Yeah, very timely question. And yes, a new Congress, and certainly it had an interesting start. Let's just say that. We'll leave it at that, but we'll see what comes of it. But yeah, a couple of, well, actually several issues that the industry will be working on. The first I'll raise is a little wonky and may not fully be grasped by your members out there, but it's a tax issue, bonus depreciation. But this is a very critical issue for particularly capital intensive industries like ours. In the 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act, Congress allowed businesses that purchase new widgets, or in our case, vehicles, to fully expense those in year one. This was important because the bill also eliminated like-kind exchange for personal property, which was also a mechanism the industry used. And that was a tax strategy that, say, if a business purchases a widget, and again, in this case, a vehicle, and uses it and then sells it, if there is a gain with the sale of that widget, the company can defer the tax on that gain if they purchase a new widget or a new vehicle. This was critical to ensure that the industry could keep refreshing its fleets by purchasing new vehicles. No one wants to rent a used vehicle, or at least an old vehicle. They want to rent new vehicles. So bonus depreciation works a bit differently, but has the same effect by helping what we call prime the pump. The problem is, and what we need to fix is, with no action by Congress this year, the industry's ability to expense 100% of the cost of a new vehicle goes down to 80% and then ramps down each year by another 20% until it goes to 0%, which would be devastating for this industry. So we're asking Congress to keep 100% bonus depreciation at least for another 2 years through 2025, when some of the other taxes in the Tax Cutting and Jobs Act expire. It's a big one for us. Additionally, the old friend of rental car excise taxes. We want to finish really the work that we began in 2018. And Shane, I know you know this issue all too well. GBTA has been a prolific partner in working to help our industry tamp down on these state and local rental car taxes. You've been there since pretty much the beginning of our concerted effort to address this issue federally, as opposed to a state-by-state or city-by-city strategy. We did have a good victory in 2018 in the FAA reauthorization bill. There, Congress passed language that states that if a state or city imposes a new car rental tax, if that tax is imposed at the airport in that city, then the revenue from that tax must go for airport purposes. So, for example, if the city of Miami, Florida authorizes a new car rental tax for a new football stadium, then if that tax is imposed at the Miami airport, those revenues must stay at the airport and may not be used for the stadium. This was a bit of a strategic move by us to ensure that those taxes paid by the quote out-of-towners may not be used for the stadium. Because as you and I know all too well, that's the big marketing gimmick of these cities, that rental car taxes are only paid by those traveling to the city. Well, we know that's not true. And now the only tax revenue from rental car taxes for a stadium will be paid for by local renters, not travelers. So far, we've had good success at deterring these new taxes, but we really need to prohibit them full stop altogether. That will be a priority this year as well. And I say we've had good luck, and I'm knocking on a piece of wood that continues.
You know the old saying, don't tax me, don't tax you, tax the guy behind the tree.
That's exactly right. That's right. That's how they sell these things. And thus far, we've had pretty good luck. But as soon as I say that, I'm going to jinx ourselves. EVs is another issue that's quite grabbing headlines, and a lot of investment and attention is being brought to this issue. And frankly, as one of the world's largest mobility providers and fleet operators, we are embracing the transition to electrification. And we are committed to doing so in a very thoughtful way for the benefit of all stakeholders. As we think about that strategy, it's not simply about introducing large number of EVs into our fleet. Our approach is focused on several things. One, ensuring we deliver a great experience to our customers. And two, partnering and investing purposefully to support the long-term viability of EVs. Now, what do I mean by that? So customer experience. As a privately owned company, thinking long-term and putting the customer at the center of everything we do has served us well and will continue to drive our EV strategy. We must ensure a great experience when a customer is in an EV, because basically someone's first experience with an EV may be very much through a rental car company. So we want to ensure that their first experience is a good one. Otherwise, consumers may sour on EVs. Stakeholder collaboration and investments. We are actively engaging in the electrification ecosystem through venture capital activity and partnership collaboration. Now, electrifying our rental business is more complex, requiring significant strategic planning as well as branch modifications from our local, regional, and global operational teams. Vehicle rental has distinctive customer usage-driven characteristics that need to be considered as we make an EV transition. Frankly, different than other use cases, such as a large corporate or leased fleet. For example, about 25% of our vehicles are turned around, cleaned, and re-rented within 1 hour, presenting unique charging needs. Additionally, short distance rentals make up only about 20% of our business. So the majority of rentals cover more than 90 miles, requiring customers to be able to access reliable and ample charging during their trip. So this brings us to infrastructure considerations. As we in-fleet EVs, we want to ensure our operations and the surrounding infrastructure can support the vehicles to create a positive customer experience, thereby helping to advance adoption and market viability. To help facilitate this transition for our customers and our business, we are focused on identifying how much power each of our locations has available and modeling power needs for varying levels of EV penetration, engaging key stakeholders, working with several charging companies whose hardware and software are based on open architecture and interoperable standards. These commercial-based relationships are helping us to facilitate the ongoing installation of charging stations throughout our operations. Now, conventional wisdom in the market is that 80% of charging is going to happen at home. So if I drive an electric vehicle, I can pull into my garage and charge it. Then 20% of charging is going to happen on the road, or what we sometimes refer to as in the wild. However, for renters, that's pretty much going to be the opposite. We serve everybody and we provide mobility services for anybody. We expect that about 80% of charging for our renters is going to happen in the public domain or in the wild, and maybe 20% will happen at home. So that presents different challenges. We want to make sure that the public investment happens in the right way and equitably to support all the customers that we serve in the entire market. So finally, funding. Infrastructure. The Infrastructure and Investment and Jobs Act, or Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, devoted $973 billion. Tens of billions of dollars are now being directed towards innovation and infrastructure to support the transition to lower carbon transportation. Recent federal infrastructure laws create opportunities in three ways: fund existing government programs, create and fund new government programs, and create tax credits for private investment in EVs and EV infrastructure. The National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Formula Program offers $5 billion. And so there may be some opportunities for enterprise to partner with local governments and other entities to advance infrastructure. Now, the National Infrastructure will also have a grant program that will be a community discretionary funding program of about $2.5 billion. And that targets investments in communities to support innovative approaches that ensure charger development reaches rural, disadvantaged, and hard to reach communities. Those recipients will largely be state and local governments as well. But the infrastructure must be publicly accessible. So I know I said a lot there, Shane, but it's a big issue. It's a big topic, and something that we are very focused on here at Enterprise, as is the rest of our industry. We are a little unique in this EV issue, and we're attempting to share that with anyone who will listen.
And that's fantastic. And I think as you look at it, and as we look at the trips that the business travelers take, everybody's trying to shrink their carbon footprint, and the idea of traveling with a purpose is still top of mind. And all of these items, the infrastructure considerations, the funding of this, the new programs that you're looking at, it's so hard to just do all of this on your own, and so we've worked together for a number of years. And so I'd like for you to talk a little bit about how you see it in relation to importance on working with coalitions and trade groups. You know, who does the rental car industry, besides GBTA, typically work with on these issues?
Sure. Hey, before I do that, can I go back and perhaps restate something on the NEVI, the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Formula Program? So just to clarify one thing there, the NEVI program, the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Formula Program with the $5 billion, enterprise itself does not qualify for any direct funds for that. And so we are certainly paying attention at the state and local level of where that infrastructure is being deployed, and certainly engaging in those processes at the state and local level, but we ourselves are not eligible for any of those funds directly.
No, that makes perfect sense, and that's usually the way it's done. Is the state and local groups qualify for the funding, and then you look to see how to strategically meet the goals that those areas are setting out for you. So, speaking of that, how go back to the question on the trade groups and the coalitions.
Trade groups and coalitions are critical for success on any issue in the legislative process. Passing legislation, as you know, Shane, is particularly very hard, and it's even harder if you attempt to go it alone. So having like-minded friends at your side and in the trenches with you enhances your opportunities for success. So specifically at Enterprise, we work very closely with ACRA, the American Car Rental Association. I think you mentioned earlier, I serve on their board. TRALA, the Truck Renting and Leasing Association, and ALA, the American Automotive Leasing Association. We work very closely with them on industry-specific issues, which falls in line with a lot of our business operations. For travel-related issues, I put GBTA at the top of the list. You all, as I mentioned earlier, have been a fantastic partner, and love working with you and your team as we work on travel issues. Certainly, part of that is also ASTA, the American Society of Travel Agents, and the U.S. Travel, which I think used to be U.S. Travel Association, but it's U.S. Travel now. So you all are great partners on all things travel. And then on some of the broader business issues, business-related issues, we work very closely with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the Business Roundtable, and the National Association of Manufacturers. In fact, NAM is really taking the lead on the bonus depreciation issue I mentioned at the outset on the legislative issues, which makes sense because manufacturers have a lot of heavy equipment and they make a lot of purchases. And so it's certainly a critical issue for their membership, but you can't go it alone. It's too hard, it's too complicated. And frankly, you can't get around to see every member of Congress or every member of a state legislature or what have you to advance your cause. And so having coalitions, and working with trade groups is, in my opinion, essential to having any type of legislative success.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Trying to get anything done in this town or really in any political environment is really difficult to do on your own. And looking for those like-minded organizations where you can agree on some items and push them forward, that's typically been the formula for success. Another area that is important, it's not just the companies. Can you talk about the importance of engaging the employees in the political process? What are ways that they can get involved?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. No, that to me is right up there with trade groups and coalitions. At Enterprise, we talk a lot about sort of this three-legged stool that is government relations, and to really strive towards success, really doing well at all legs of the stool, really sets you up for success. Doesn't guarantee success. It's just too complicated and too odd of a process where things can go wrong despite your best efforts. But really, if you do these things well, you can really set yourself up for success. And yeah, to me, it does start with grassroots, and engaging your employees or your association members to get directly engaged. Sort of the more the merrier, right? And enterprise does take this very seriously, and we have for a number of years have had a substantial grassroots program where we encourage our operations and our employees to go out and frankly proactively develop relationships. That to me is a key to this, because you can build relationships and have a relationship before you have an ask, and making that ask is typically so much easier if you have a pre-existing relationship with a member of Congress or a member of state legislature. Even a city councilor can make all the difference in the world. And so we used to say, or we do say, it's easier to ask a friend once you have a friend. And so we do have tools that we can use to ramp up support or opposition to legislation at the state and federal level. So how do they get involved? The easiest place to start is matching them up with your employees or your members where they live and work, with the members of Congress or the state legislators. That's a very easy way to start, and is a pretty easy thing to do. Elected officials do love hearing and understanding the needs of folks back in their districts. I mean, I think it was Tip O'Neill who coined the phrase, all politics is local. And that means I really only care about what's happening back home or in my backyard. So getting those folks out and engaged and communicating can make a huge difference. You can't get away from the day to day. I mean, these folks have other jobs, these employees and members. And so you do need to have a good lobbying plan and core to really do the day-to-day work. And so it is critical to have contract lobbyists to complement your in-house government relations team. So Shane, I know you are an in-house guy for GBTA, but you also have contract lobbyists that roam the halls each and every day on behalf of the organization. I'm an in-house guy at Enterprise, but we have several firms that we use that can help do our day-to-day work in the legislature. And we've got lobbyists, frankly, or our subsidiaries have lobbyists in most, if not all, states to make sure that we're engaged there as well. And so having your eyes and ears in the U.S. Capitol or your state capitol is critical to your success as well, because again, we can't do this every single day, but that's what these firms do for you and for me and in our respective organizations. And then lastly, I would say having a robust political action committee or a PAC. Engaging in the political side of this business is greatly enhanced if your organization has a political action committee. It is one tool, and again, I stress one tool or one leg of the stool that can allow you to develop relationships with elected officials. We see the value in this tool here at Enterprise, and frankly, we are blessed with a pretty darn robust PAC. This allows our PAC to contribute to common sense, pro-business, pro-travel legislators of both parties. We are extraordinarily bipartisan and very proud of that fact. It also allows us to support the PACs of other like-minded organizations, such as GBTA. You all have a PAC, and as does some of the other organizations that I mentioned. ACRA has a PAC, Trala has a PAC, U.S. Travel has a PAC, and as does the U.S. Chamber, and I believe ASTA does as well. So not only do we directly support candidates who we believe are good for the business and for the travel industry in general, but we're able to support your all's PACs so that that just kind of enhances the profile of the industry, or specifically the rental industry, or the travel industry, or the broader business community in terms of the U.S. Chamber. So we're blessed to have that. Our employees appreciate it, they understand it, and support our PAC each and every year. And we're very lucky to have that. So again, we consider these the legs: grassroots, lobbying, and political action committee as the critical three legs of a successful government relations program into having legislative success. As I mentioned earlier, it doesn't guarantee success by any means. We know how quirky the legislative process can be, but it does certainly put you on a path towards success. And Enterprise is proud to be a part of GBTA's legislative grassroots efforts when they come to Washington, D.C. for the legislative summit. I know our folks from across the country thoroughly enjoy networking in person with their colleagues and partners from across the country. Plus, I know they enjoy hitting the Hill and talking with members of Congress. They love to snap their selfies with their members, and I often get a copy or two of those as they tout their work on the Hill. So it's really neat for the members to engage and to do that. So I just encourage all your members to attend and get engaged. They will learn a lot, and most importantly, they will be part of advancing the cause of the broader business travel industry.
And that's fantastic. And for those that are listening, stay tuned. We'll be announcing the dates for the legislative summit very soon, likely to be in the first week or so of June. So get ready for some good times in Washington, D.C. And I just want to reiterate the three-legged stool there. When I started at GBTA, one of the first things we did was recreate the legislative summit and start up the chapter challenge, all of which are designed to hit those areas of raising funds for the political action committee and to introduce the local members to the state and local and elected officials to talk about the issues of importance to the business travel. And we've had so much success doing this and fighting those rental car excise taxes, as you mentioned earlier, and we'll continue to win strong reforms for the business travel industry. So thank you for joining us today, Gordon.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I thoroughly enjoyed it, Shane, and always good to talk to you and catch up with you. So I appreciate very much the opportunity.
With that, you've been listening to The Business of Travel, the official podcast of the Global Business Travel Association. For more information about GBTA and its work, visit gbta.org, and be sure to rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, thank you for listening.